If you died today, would you be happy with the example you set? That is the question that started it all. Just over a year ago, we just crossed the 1 year mark. Can you believe it?
It's crazy.
And here we are.
That's right.
We're still going.
15 listeners. Started at none.
Yeah.
We have like 15 or 16.
That's 15,000% growth. So
Hopefully you're still with us, fellas.
Yeah. So with that said, we wanted to go all the way back to the beginning today of what started the podcast, what inspired us to do it, and what's the kind of core concept of this. And it really is all about the example you set for your kids, who you are becoming. Maybe not who you are now, but who you are becoming. Mm-hmm. As we believe that that's the biggest way to influence your kids in a positive way. Not just what you say, but really who you are. Because after you're long gone, your kids are going to remember that, you know?
Yep.
Even me, my dad's alive, and I can't remember everything he said or every single piece of advice that he gave or whatever. I just intrinsically, who he was the shaping factor for me.
Yeah.
And there's so much of me that I don't think about that I am just like him because I was around him my whole life. He was my dad. I'm my father's son, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
No.
So for some of us, that saying rings true if dad did a good job, right? And from talking to you, I know you feel like in a lot of ways your dad did a great job. And so that's cool. And then for other people, they want to get farther away from the tree because dad didn't show up for them. And that's possible too, right? So It's weird. It's that quote makes sense at times. And then there's other times where it's don't use that as an excuse. You can move much farther away from the tree if that's what you need for your history.
That's the best part about it. That's why we did it. You know, it was kind of a reflection I had driving one time where that question was asked of me and I was horrified thinking about it. I was just no, I am not happy with the example I've set. Mm-hmm. If I died today, I'd be no, not ready. You know, I need a couple more days to set this straight, you know,
couple more days
to work this whole thing out, you know,
that's funny.
Give me a little more time.
And by the way, just so you know, at least in my opinion, this is one of those things where you never arrive, you never hit the finish line, because we just did a review. I did a 1 year review, and it's if I were to die today, am I satisfied? And the answer is still no.
It's just no,
right?
Across
Which
the board
is good.
for me.
I'd be worried for our dads out there, yep, I've checked all the boxes, I'm perfect. It's no, dude, I have way more work to do before I feel like I'm even remotely close to answering that question.
Yep. Yeah. But that's really what inspired us to do it. You know, we have kind of unique backgrounds and skill sets that we were excited to share. We were excited to talk about a lot of the core stuff we talk about.
Yep.
The whole idea is that you can change who you are. That's one thing you can change. And I don't believe in the idea that I show up and I'm just here I am, hope you like it, you know, take it or leave it. Mm-hmm. I'm just doing me, I'm just being me. And then some people don't like that. And that's on them or whatever. You know, to me, it's who do I want to be for my kids now? Am I okay with that? Because hopefully you agree that matters more than anything of who you were to them in terms of what influences them. So if you can be honest enough with yourself to actually think about that around who do I want to be? Do I want to actually go down this road of self-reflecting painfully and maybe not being okay with a lot of it? That's what this is all about. And I we encourage that. There's nothing wrong with starting today and being it's not going so great. I'm actually not happy with how it's going, but here's what I'm going to work on. And so that's what we wanted to do today is talk about that, go through a couple questions, some kind of self-reflection questions we'll lead you through to help you see just re-anchor on where am I today? Where do I want to focus? You know, would I be happy with my example? What have I shown my family about who I am versus what have I said? So
yeah. And also, I just want to honor the fact that everyone is a different part of their journey as a father. Yeah. Some fathers are putting out massive house fires and the whole house is on fire. Yeah. And if you're there, welcome. You're there, we got room for you, and that's perfectly a good place. And I've been in that place at times. And then for other dads, you've done a ton of work and you're fine tuning, and you know, and that's cool too. And probably for most of us, we're somewhere in the middle of that spectrum.
Yeah.
But, you know, so again, different guys are going to have different work based on this episode and where you think you fit
Totally.
in, you know.
We each have areas we're strong in. We got a bunch that we're working on always. And I'd like, again, hopefully we stay there, right? Where we're always kind of working and improving. And hopefully our kids see that.
Yeah.
You know? So what we put together were a couple questions. I'm sure there's more, but we thought of these as kind of just self-reflection questions to get your gears turning on where you are here and the example you're setting, where you have opportunities, where you're feeling solid, and certainly giving you kind of some direction to dig in more. And we've, over the last year, laid out a lot of depth on some of these topics individually. So feel free, if you're newer to the podcast, to skim back and look at some of what we've covered in the past. We're not going to go into massive depth today, but we are going to touch on some of the high level ideas. So the first is, again, kind of an exercise. What would my family say about me if I were no longer here? So if I died today, how do you think your family would talk about you after you're gone? And I think that I kind of thought of this a few weeks ago, and it put into perspective to me, like, it really forces you to think about how you're perceived to your family, you know? As much nuance as you feel like you have about yourself and know yourself, not everybody else is catching that, you know, and they're going to catch the highlights. What are the highlights? You know, are they going to be like, well, Dad was a really hard worker, had a really good work ethic, you know, and kind of cover up for you on like, Dad wasn't really doing a whole lot else, or he wasn't maybe around as much as we wanted, you know? What would they kind of say was most important to you, or how you spent your time, or just kind of like the type of person that you were? So that for me forced me to think about, man, like what would my kids say? My oldest is 7, you know, so what's he going to think if I died now? What's he going to remember when he's 15 or 20 about me?
Yep.
And yeah.
Well, and we've talked about this in the past, but like, so I do this work called Grief Recovery. If you listen to old episodes, that's the kind of organization I help lead. And we do a thing called the relationship graph. And so a lot of the time people are grieving the loss of their mom or dad, and they'll do a very thorough one. So I'd go past what Sam's saying, which is a great question to start with. What would they say about me? That's very broad. And then I would say, what would they actually graph about me? The good and the bad, the specifics, right?
Yeah.
And would that come out favorable or not, right? No one is going to escape having some negatives in the below the line, right? In a relationship of 30, 40, 50 years, of course, there's going to be stuff you mess up on or whatever, and there's going to be below the line. But like, can we shoot for the majority being above the line? The positive memories, the stuff, oh man, Dad showed up in all these great ways. And then there was some stuff, oh, that hurt, right? That's like real life. But what you don't want, which I see way too often, is graphs where most everything is below the line, and we're grabbing for straws to find 2 or 4 above the line.
Yeah.
And that breaks my heart, because, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. But again, it's like there are a lot of reasons for that.
Yep.
I would say the number one, just for guys listening, is if you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, that is almost a sure indicator that if your kids graph you down the road when you die, there's going to be a bunch of below the line stuff. So I would say, again, house on fire moments for our dads out there listening, and this may be hard to hear, but if you're struggling with drugs and alcohol, I don't think there is a better place to start than getting a handle at dealing with that. And somebody that's coming up on 24 years of sobriety, I know this intimately, and I know how painful it is, and I know how hard it is. And so I'm not just like flippantly saying this. I've had to work actively, going to hundreds and hundreds of meetings and working with people and doing uncomfortable stuff to maintain sobriety and grow there.
Yeah.
But like, you know, again, I just feel it's on my heart right now, because I'm helping a couple of dads who I love, who are great guys, and they're right in the throes of that disease, you know, and it's freaking heartbreaking, because they're awesome guys. Their kids are beautiful. Their wives are amazing, and they're really stuck, you know, and I see this time and time again with alcohol and drugs specifically, right? The other stuff we're going to talk about, like that's all fine tuning, great stuff. But again, I would start there. So anyway, I know I'm kind of riffing off of what you said, but that key thing is like, what would someone say about me if I died? It's like, go past that. What if they graphed their entire relationship with you? The hopes, dreams, and expectations of you, the things they wish could have been different, better, or more about their relationship with you. And we didn't design this podcast around that, but it's like I've just seen how that work is perfect for this.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great ad. Okay. Next one, what have I modeled being most important in my life? So not what have I told my kids is important, but again, I've died. They're looking back at my life. What was most important to me as dad? What did I put first? I think we all have our kind of notional list of priorities or things that we kind of think are most important, but are they really modeled that way? So for you, that might be your kids or your family or God or I don't know. I can't think of other like number one examples. Those are probably some version of that's everyone's number one if you have kids, but go down the list from there, right? Like your health, your, your work. Do those things match what you model being most important in your life? Because I think we're going to do an episode about this to really go through the kind of how we spend our time exercise versus what's important to us or what do we value or what are our values. I think it's actually upside down a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we spend a lot of time on nonsense that has nothing to do with, what we actually value or our family or our kids. So like that's just another one to think about. Again, what have I shown to be most important? I want my kids to, if they're my number one as an example, like I really want them to know that. I don't want it to be that they've been dragged along in my career fantasy as I chase this next promotion or whatever the thing is. My kids are along for the ride. Are they going to feel like they're the most important thing in that equation? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that to diss anyone that feels like that may have been true in their life. I'm sure we've, gotten the balance wrong there at points ourselves.
Yep.
But just pointing out, like, I think that's really important for our kids to know what was important and as informative to them around, like, what's important in life.
Yeah.
Because I think it's easy to get distracted. And if this feels painful, I think it kind of is supposed to be painful. I know it was for me the first time I thought about it and kind of went through this exercise.
It was painful for me 25 minutes ago.
It's painful, man. Like I remember driving, I think I was driving to Seattle or back from Seattle for work, and I was doing this exercise, and I was just dumping into my phone, like on voice notes, just like all the stuff I wanted to change. Like basically this exact exercise of just like, what am I showing through my example?
Mm-hmm.
And it's painful, man.
Yeah.
It's not like a good feeling exercise all the time.
No, it's not. But it's cool because in this work, I also like found some places where I did check a box, and I'm like, oh, cool. I did show up that way, or wow, like there's one of the things on there was like, did I grow closer to my wife over the last year or farther apart?
Yep.
And long-term marriages, I feel like you got to kind of assess that,
Yep.
And like, it was cool. It felt good. It was like, no, we've been making strides to grow closer.
Yeah.
In spite of having 4 kids and a bunch of stress and, being in our mid 40s trying to take care of, my mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. So anyway, there's highs and lows. That's life. But again, guys, like the takeaway is go do this stuff. Go take these assessments. Go be honest with yourself and find some clarity by putting pen to paper.
Yes. Okay. Next one. Have I modeled a well-rounded example? This is something that we advocate heavily for on this podcast. Not a fan of like big jack dad with no emotional skills or intelligence or, relationship skills. Not a fan of, just the soft skills and no hard skills. It's
right. The reverse of that,
the
essentially,
reverse,
right? Again, we like to dunk on the tattooed jack guy getting out of the Bugatti, but I like to dunk on the guy that's like Ned Flanders, who's like completely will fold if the world makes him or tells him to do anything with his wife or his kids. And he's like, well, I'm just a happy, nice guy. I'm supposed to go with the flow. And it's like, no, dude, that's like you're asleep at the wheel too, right? Yeah. It's somewhere in the middle. You got to find that balance for you, kind of what your natural disposition is. But sometimes you got to go more towards like the tough guy. And sometimes the tough guy has to go more towards the emotional available guy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's really hard for some of your family members to relate to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can define well-rounded for yourself. We've gone through this a lot in the podcast. Mm-hmm. I know you had a list that we were talking about before of just areas, and these are by no means the sacred areas, but can you go through some of the stuff that you rattled off before? Just like stuff that you're thinking about when you think about well-rounded? Yeah.
So real quick, like some of the things I put down is, again, if I died today, is my house in order with my life insurance and my trust? Am I buttoned up? Does my wife, can she just... are they set up, right? Yeah. Number two, have I set my kids up to have emotional regulation, to have skills to navigate emotional stuff, to navigate trauma and grief, all the stuff they will go through in their life, whether I like it or not? Did I give them some tools on how to navigate that? And did I, again, most importantly, did I role model how to do that? Did they get to watch a healthy example of dad when my dad was dying or not, right? Or things like that. So that's another one I put. Again, was I a good physical example of like, here's how you take care of your body. Your body is your temple. Here's how you take care of it in this life. Mm-hmm. Was I a good spiritual example? Did they see anything about that other realm that we don't quite know exactly what it is, right? And like the soul and all those kind of things. Did I to the best of my ability, according to my beliefs, role model what that was like for them? Financial, was I responsible financially? Again, this goes with trust, but it's a little different. But was I responsible at setting them up financially?
Yeah.
And then again, I think arguably this one again is, if you don't have this one, I'm telling you, it's just going to be rough waters for you. And again, I said sober, but you could say, was I present-minded most of the time? Was I clear-minded most of the time if you're not sober, right? If you don't have that problem and you drink or whatever, I really don't care. But for a lot of people, they're lying to themselves. They do have a problem. It is getting in the way, and they're just like, no, I'm not a junkie on the street. I'm not homeless, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, for me, it was like, am I sober? Yes, I am. And then did I show them how to show up and be a friend? Did I show them how friends treat each other and how you show up for friends and stuff? So that was just one that was on my mind as well. If I were to die today. Another one was, again, how did I treat my partner? How did I role model being a partner? Did I show up for my wife? Again, are we showing them the right things in a healthy relationship? And then this one's kind of random. Again, some guys wouldn't even think about this because we're so used to outsourcing it to other people. But it's like, have I evolved as a protector? So if I were to die today, would my kids feel like they were safe? Physically safe, right? Mm-hmm. Have I checked the boxes to make sure they felt safe around me and they were protected, right? And it's hard. A lot of dads cannot answer that question. Yes. Yeah. A lot of dads, if they had to show up and protect their family, would fail miserably, dramatically in front of their family, which is like my worst nightmare, right? Could you imagine like just absolutely just being a complete pushover as someone had their way or their will with your family or rob you or whatever, the list goes on. So that's one that I wanted to check the box on.
Yeah, and I think most people have they're starting with some strong in some area and usually dramatically underdeveloped in others. That's just got to be true for most people.
100%.
I think some people can over-index in certain areas. And there's definitely the kind of stereotypes of people over-indexing in their career as an example. I've over-indexed a little bit, I think, at times on I know this sounds weird to say, but like physical fitness. Like as a father, I think it's whatever you want to do without kids, but there's been times since we have kids where I get really into my lifting and my diet, and I'm kind of I think that stuff's important, but it would be times where it'd be out of whack.
100%.
Where it's I'm investing a lot of energy in that and not nearly enough in these other areas that are actually more important.
Yep.
And do I need to be competition level lifter guy? No.
Right.
I have no aspirations of that. So why am I doing this? So there can be things that seem good that you can overdo, and same with dude, even with your diet. I'm not a big fan of super mega strict all the time where it's affecting your family's lifestyle.
Yeah.
Now it's all their problem that you have to be on the specific diet, to a T. It's I believe in eating healthy almost as much as possible, but it's kind of are you making it your family's problem? Or
and again, that's where this will be so unique to you as a listener, because if you've been obese your whole life and you desperately want to not have that be your example for your family, maybe you do go on strict macros for 3 years, or you're carnivore and it's an extreme diet so that you can do it, or you fast. I don't know what it is, but maybe you do have to do extreme measures.
That's a great asterisk. I think it's dependent on the person for sure. That was true for me.
Right.
In my situation.
Yeah. And that's why self-assessment and truth for you and pen to paper is so key, because Otherwise, you'll gaslight yourself. Again, I see it all the time,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I do it in areas too, right? And that's where
Yeah.
it's good to have good friends and other people, like where
Yeah.
you can really pull their covers, or they can pull your covers. And be like, dude, I love you,
Yeah.
but you're full of shit. I just had to do that with a friend I've known since I was 13. And it's like, he wants to drink a lot, and it's like his whole family's terrified. And it's like, dude, but I make good money, and we have a house, and they have, I provide a great life. And it's like, bro, they're terrified right now. They're all terrified. Do you not see this?
Yeah.
And it's like, he gaslighted himself into being like, I'm excelling in these areas, which qualify me as a dad that's getting it done.
Yeah.
While really bad stuff's happening, right? And it's like, so yeah, bro, you have to go to extreme measures. You just cannot drink or use drugs one day at a time forever, basically.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and hopefully you can figure that out, because like so anyway, so anyway, we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, but I see what you're saying, because I struggle with that too. I'm like, sometimes I do crazy diets or this or that, or I spend too much time in the gym, and it's like, yeah, that time I don't get back. That's time I don't have with my wife, or I don't have with my kids. So
Yep.
is it really worth it? So
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying too. Like, sometimes that moderation is needed.
Well, some of those things that seem good on the surface, one mistake that I've made, and I'm sure others have too, is I've taken good things too far because I thought that it was going to help me in other areas. Like, I looked to physical fitness and physical challenges to somehow solve other problems in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Gaps that were there because of other reasons, where it's just like, well, I just need to dig a little bit harder, and I'm one workout away from like having the answers on everything. And if I just push a little harder, the answer is within myself. I got to just like, do another CrossFit workout or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're scraping the bottom of the barrel thinking that you're going to get the answer down there on some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that can be true for a few of these things. And it's like, you're not going to become enlightened by like, endless physical pursuit like that. Like, the answers are not going to be found there.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to figure it out. You're going to get really good at physical stuff.
Yep.
And I think there's lessons about discipline and endurance, but again, discipline and endurance are traits that I developed over the years that have not helped me at all in other areas of my life.
Well, yeah, and look, guys, I think it's safe to say guys are not comfortable with emotions and feelings. And guess what? We're still, like, God created us with emotions and feelings, right? Whether we like it or not. And so a lot of the time, the way I see guys avoid emotions and feelings is alcohol, drugs, and sometimes anger, often anger, and then a lot of the time physical exercise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't tell you how many guys I've seen try and solve all their problems in the gym. And it's like, as a guy that enjoys lifting and absolutely thinks I can solve some problems in the gym, I'm not, I'm not like fooling myself to think that's the whole solution.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys do. That's like their therapy. You know what I mean? It's
Totally.
like, dude, you're not sorting out a bunch of those emotions just by like squatting.
I feel, it's like I was definitely this person, and it even like almost pains me to say it, but it's like, you're not going to solve every problem through lifting weights. It's like, it does solve a lot of problems, more than most things do, but you're not going to solve emotional problems lifting weights. You're not going to solve spiritual problems lifting weights.
Yeah.
It can be spiritual. It can be an emotional aspect to it. Like, you do get better in certain ways, but it's like, anyways, let's move to the next one. What's one thing I tell my kids to do that I don't consistently do myself?
I don't want to answer this.
So
one.
painful.
You
This
can
one's
deal
so
with this
painful.
one, bro.
I mean, the one for me, and again, we don't gotta go all of our stuff out there, but I just like the response in anger to things. Like, it doesn't take much for me to not be at my best, like which is my own problem. Like, I'm like a princess with my emotional state. Like, I feel like if things aren't perfect, I like fall apart. Not fall apart, but it's like I'm more easily pulled into like just like getting frustrated or, raising my voice when I shouldn't. And I've gotten better there. It's not like a massive problem, but that's one place where my kids will yell at the other one or yell at me or, my wife. And I'm just like, hey, don't talk to me like that, or don't talk to him like that, say you're sorry or whatever. And I'm just like, gosh, but I do it sometimes. So like that, that I have a feeling most guys listening probably that's got to be one that comes to mind for a lot of people. I think a lot of people struggle with. So I know that's one for me.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do that. to a degree as well. And then for me right now, the worst one is like I'm always like, get off the TV, put on your blue blocker glasses while I'm like sitting there, like on the computer,
Yeah.
like totally being a hypocrite. So, or looking for distractions and freaking scrolling or whatever.
Yeah.
So that one feels bad because I feel like a 100% hypocrite in that.
That's an easy one just to put some of these into practice. There's
Yeah.
probably low-hanging fruit, if you're thinking about, again, what are you trying to show your kids and how you're trying to help kind of model certain values for your kids or certain behaviors, where are you just tripping over your own feet?
Yep.
And so some are harder than others, but
Yeah.
I thought that would be a good one. Just get the wheels turning on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure everyone has a couple that come right to mind of just like, I do that and ask my kids not to,
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Well, so this last one I think really kind of ties it all together,
Mm-hmm.
which is, again, I'm not a fan. I don't think you're a fan of, hey, I'm Sam. This is who I am. Like just take it or leave it, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like good and the bad. We're all about, raising the bar, and we believe that you can change who you are and decide who you are. That was one of the most exciting realizations for me as a person, just like in my life. It was in my 20s. I forget what I was doing, but at some point I had the realization of like, I can just change who I am. Like I am not Sam as I was sent out into the world by my parents. Like I can change that. I can do something today, and like who I am today, like that's who I was,
Yep.
So for me, at various points I was trying to get into different things, whatever. It's like, I'm going to do this thing today, and hey, that's who I was today.
Yep.
And I'm going to do it again tomorrow, and I'm going to do this next thing. And then next thing you know, you've kind of changed who you are.
Mm-hmm.
All that set up for, the question is, who do I need to become?
Yep.
Who do I need to become to feel good about the example that I'm leaving behind? Because you're probably not happy with, again, if you died today, you probably wouldn't be happy with the example you set. So who do I need to become in order to feel good about that?
Yep. Yeah, that's great, man. And it's like, I think that's one of the reasons we really hit it off when we met is because we could just kind of tell we were both into that. Like we could both tell we're not like stagnant with that. And I have met a lot of guys like that are, and I'm just not really attracted to that as a friend. I'm like, I don't know if I want to hang with this guy that much. Like anybody that thinks they have it all figured out, I just don't trust them. I'm like, none of us have it all figured out, So anybody looking to evolve, I respect that, And I think some of us like naturally tend to do that. Sometimes I think society or circumstances force us to do that. Like, I'm in my early 20s and I feel like I'm going to die unless I change myself, So it's like, okay, here's this 12-step program to help you do that. I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
But there's so many games in town to go search for things to help you. And I would just say whether that's religion or some other self-help pursuit or 12 steps or there's a million different things, right? Like, and then, because I think a lot of guys out there, I think they check enough boxes where they kind of, I don't want to say skate through, but they don't get in trouble. Like, they get okay grades and they don't get in massive trouble. And, and then they find themselves at 30 or 40 and they haven't found their thing that really keeps having them evolve and change and improve. And, and I think sometimes those guys, it's tricky because it's like, they don't quite know a framework in which to change.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of been like, hey, I've been kind of on cruise control. Like, the house hasn't ever burned down, so I haven't like been forced to find some tool or process to help me change.
I mean, dude, there's definitely, society sets a very low bar for us to feel good about ourselves, and I think that's how you get in that position where it's like, well, according to societal standards, like I have a job, I'm physically present with my family, like I haven't left my family, where we live in a cool suburb, like it's going pretty good, and you are deferring that externally. You're saying like I'm letting other people tell me what good is, and we're saying take this internal. Like, what is your internal compass of who you want to be? Because I wouldn't trust any of those external sources to raise my kids or to teach my kids how to become people, good people. I want to be the one deciding that, and I think you have to develop an internal perspective of, this is what I want for my kids. This is who I want to be for my kids. You can't look outwards because, again, really easy to feel good about yourself comparing to what society tells us is good.
Yep.
It's like almost a non-example. It's kind of just like, hey, just kind of follow along with this stuff, and you're in our eyes, you're good.
Yep.
I think me and you try to hold a much higher bar for that, and I think other people should too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really develop an independent perspective of what do you want for your family? Like, what's your vision for your kids and your family and your guys' values? How are you guys gonna grow as a family, as like a team, and like really develop yourselves? I think that's super exciting to me, man. Like I love that.
Yeah, no, totally. With you talking, I'm thinking about back on the Against the Grain episode we did, Fatherhood Against the Grain.
Yeah.
Like that specific episode. Is
Episode
that the title?
19.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Good recall, my man. But it's like, go listen to that one if you haven't yet, because that'll kind of show you the framework of like Sam's background in metal and my kind of interesting background where, you really do have to do things counter to how society wants you to raise your kids, because society like wants to basically destroy your kids. Like, and we get into that in detail in there. And so, again, just really, it's not enough now to phone it in and be like, I haven't been arrested lately. Like I checked that box, like I'm good. I'm a good dad. It's like, no, dude, there's so many pitfalls and traps that like laid ahead on the road for your kids that unless you're like very actively raising them, like there's some brutal pitfalls that they can fall in.
Yeah.
And I would never want to look back and be like, I was just kind of sorry. I wanted to game. I was just gaming a lot. So I didn't give them the skills to equip them to avoid those traps, I kind of knew about them, but whatever. I was just pursuing my own thing. They can figure it out. It's like, no, dude, so anyway.
Well, cool, man. I do want to give, again, it's been 1 year, which is awesome. We're going to keep doing the podcast. We're stoked.
Yeah.
We're really going to start. You're going to see more from us. Like, we really want to start doing it right.
Yeah.
And being consistent and doing more content. We've been kind of like hot and cold depending on what time of year you caught us, but
well, and maybe let me just do this teaser. You can edit it out if you want, but there is a little bit of limiting factor in like what Sam and I can go to on like a public podcast. And again, we want to get deeper with guys that are core listeners, that are like people that are responding to like doing what we're trying to do too. And so we have some things coming. I think I'll just say that we have some cool things coming. We're still developing. But we want to really build a community that's like out there really making changes in their lives and their families' lives. So we're looking at exactly how to kind of launch that and establish that. But we're definitely, we're committed. We're committed. We're not going anywhere. So forgive us for the early summer hiatus.
Yeah, no, that's right. You'll hear more about that. And we're going to keep growing the podcast. We got some cool guests lined up. It's going to be a good year. And I do want to give a quick shout out. We get a bunch of really cool messages. Recently too, man, it's just been like a couple a day will come in.
Wow.
And that's been I think yours too, like just favorite thing about doing this is we're sitting here in Idaho in this office by ourselves, and we're going to go back to work after this, just normal day. We got a message from a guy named Luke this week. I'll spare his full name, but I just love this type of stuff. He says, "Hey guys, I'm a recent dad. My daughter is nearly 2, and I felt quite alone being one of the only ones out of my circle who is a father. And I just wanted to say your podcast has really helped." And, that's similar to some other stuff we got this week where it's just like, hey, I don't really like got friends that talk about this stuff or like are into this stuff. And you guys are kind of like those friends for me.
So cool.
And it's freaking awesome.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about, know? So shout out to Luke.
Luke, keep listening. We appreciate you. And it's funny. Society is kind of cooked right now, right? I think we're all feeling it. It's crazy. I mean, life is crazy.
I think things are going great, dude.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll speak for myself then. But for me, the idea that we're just all together helping for the next generation, so that our kids have some, other people that are, again, maybe we can just right course a little bit in this country, in this world. And, we're going to do that by parenting. Right. And so, and we're going to do that by active parenting. Right. We can't just kind of phone it in and be like, well, they survived. They got to 18 and they're alive. So it's okay. I did my job. Like, that's not how we're going to shift. Like, And again, we all have our different critiques of society and the problems in society. But again, like active parenting is going to help us get the next generation into, again, self-assessment, personal accountability, like how we treat other people, how we show up, all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
I know we're both fired up, again, to just help other dads and families do that.
Anyways, yeah, if you've been, if you're this far along and you're digging the podcast, please do us a favor and leave a review or even just a rating on, like Spotify. It's just a little 5-star thing. You can just leave a rating real quick. It definitely helps the algorithm, helps other dads find the show. That's all we got right now is, until we got something more to share, please just help us by leaving a rating, sharing this with other dads. Again, we're trying to really build this up this year, so appreciate,
Yeah. And
all the support.
most importantly, do this.
Yeah.
Go through, write down this, assess yourself, see where you need to start, right? None of us are scoring 100% on this assessment, but write down all those questions and see where you need to start. I'm telling you, your kids are going to benefit if you do this exercise. Start taking action, right? Don't just consume. I think that's the trap of modern podcasting.
Yep.
Is we remember it for 1 second and then we let go whatever wisdom we heard in that podcast. Don't just keep brushing stuff under the rug. Get it down on paper. When you get it down on paper, then it's the truth. From my reference, that truth is now here, and now I got to take action on it versus floating around in my head I'll do that, all that kind of stuff. So do that. Take some action.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. We will see you soon.